Today I'm going to show you the easiest poultry brine you'll ever do, and you'll never ruin Thanksgiving again. I'm Mike with Happy Bison, and welcome to our home. So, the easiest way to start is to think of the 1 by 1 by 1/2 method. That's 1 gallon of water to 1 cup of salt to 1/2 cup of sugar. We're going to go ahead and throw this in the pot and get started. As you'll see here, I've got a beer as well. Some people add a beer to their brine. I choose to drink it. Both are great. Alright, so get the water in here. See if I can't spill it all over our kitchen island here. Next in is 1 cup salt and 1/2 cup of white sugar, regular granulated sugar. Now I have used brown sugar. It's great as well, but remember, with brown sugar you are going to get that molasses flavor. If you're doing goose or duck, I highly recommend the brown sugar over the white sugar. If you're doing poultry, or excuse me, chicken or turkey, I like the white sugar. Alright, now it gets a little more complicated for Thanksgiving. This is a citrus and herb brine. If you've ever had any of our chicken off of our food truck or any catered events, this is the brine we use for our chicken. So I've used oranges in the past, but today we're going to use lemons because lemon just adds a more citrusy, wonderful flavor with the herbs we're going to use. The herbs we're going to use today are rosemary, sage, thyme, specifically lemon thyme, and a couple of bay leaves. So we can go ahead and dump those right in. So for this, I'm doing a chicken recipe rather than a turkey recipe. For a turkey, I would double or even triple it depending on the size of the turkey. So for chicken, I'm using 1 sprig of rosemary, a whole branch of sage, not a whole packet, just a whole bunch, and then about 1/2 to 1/3 of the lemon thyme from a packet, normal, packet that you would get from your local grocery store. Next, I'm going to cut the lemons in half. Very easy. No real skill to this. Just got to squeeze out at least half the juice, if not all of it, and drop the rinds right in. The great thing about this brine is you can just chuck everything in, including the onion with the skin and the garlic with the skin, because this is going to steep like tea. Okay, next we're going to slice up the onion. Just slice it like you normally would an onion. Thin, thick, doesn't matter. You just want to get it to the point where once it gets saturated with water, it's soft, it's floating around there, and all that great flavor is getting into the brine. So with this recipe, the 1 by 1 by 1/2, I like to use 2 small onion or 1 large onion. If you can get Vidalias, use Vidalias because those southern onions are the best. If you can't, Walla Wallas are a great second. Alright, and finally, you want to use 1 huge head of garlic or a couple of smaller heads of garlic. All you got to do with the garlic is cut them right in half, widthwise, until it opens up. Drop it all in. Widthwise, drop it all in. Again, don't worry about all those pieces. Those are all going to add to the flavor. Those are going to steep. And by the time we get the chicken in there, all that's going to be like a nice soup. So now we throw the brine on the oven. We bring it to just to the point of boiling. We turn it off, and then we cool it in the refrigerator to 40 degrees or less. Once it's below 40 degrees, then it's safe to go ahead and put the chicken in and get the chicken brining. You're going to want to brine the chicken for about 4 to 6 hours. Longer if you want, but a minimum 4 to 6 hours. If you're going turkey, I like to do turkey overnight. So I'll do the brine usually earlier in the day, allow it time to cool, and then put the turkey in the brine the night before. I'm going to roast it off for Thanksgiving. Goose, somewhere in between 6 hours to 8 hours. Goose is a little bigger. Duck about the same as chicken, about 4 to 6 hours. Alright, we'll see you when we're ready to put the chicken in. As you can see, we've come to a boil here, so we're going to go ahead and get it off the heat and allow it to steep and get all that wonderful flavor into the brine. although there is quite a bit of salt, you want to bring it to a boil just to ensure that you do kill off any potential bacteria or any other, things you don't want to deal with. So as you can see here, the onion is starting to separate, the rings are starting to separate there, it's softening up, it's kind of looking like it's sweated out if you were sauteing them. And that's exactly what we want. The herbs are wilted. It's looking like a wonderful broth. Just please don't drink it. It's extremely salty. Your blood pressure will go through the roof. Alright, the brine is ready to go into the container that we're going to cool it in. So a lot of people are intimidated by brines because of the amount of salt, but they are really a safe way of preserving food and adding more moisture into food. What the salt does is it actually denatures or breaks down the protein in the meat that you're brining and allows that protein to kind of form a wall and trap in the moisture, which can't escape during cooking. And it also works through osmosis into the cell body in the meat, so the salt water basically goes in, the contents of the cell can't leave, so it fills with more moisture. So it's just an all-around great process for adding moisture to any meat. Alright, we're going to go ahead and get the brine into the bucket. So I like black pepper in my brine, so at this point I'm going to go ahead and add some black pepper. I didn't add it into the brine before boiling because it can sometimes add a strong pepper flavor, but I'm going to add it now because the water's still hot enough to draw out that black pepper flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and add it now. Once I add the black pepper, the brine goes into the fridge to cool for a few hours. I like a lot of black pepper. I'm going to add 3 tablespoons. You don't have to add that much. I'm using a coarse ground black pepper. I recommend using that instead of a fine ground. If you have the time and patience, what I would do is take whole black peppercorns and just crack them and throw them in. But for the purposes of this video, I'm just using 3 tablespoons of coarse ground black pepper. Now it's off to the refrigerator. Alright, so it's been 24 hours since we put the chicken in the brine. In those 24 hours, after about 6 hours, we took the chicken out of the brine, we rinsed it really well, and then we placed it on this sheet tray with a rack underneath so that it can get air all around. Once we did that, we put it back into the refrigerator overnight, and today is the next day. So the reason you want to put it back in the refrigerator after you rinse the brine off of it is so that it forms a pellicle. A pellicle is kind of a thin, it is a thin layer of protein on the skin, and what that does is it allows smoke and flavor to adhere to the skin. It works really well. So if you're going straight from the brine into the oven for roasting, you may not need a pellicle, but I always like to smoke my meat first before I roast it, so I like to form a pellicle. What I recommend, give it at least 3 hours in the refrigerator to form that pellicle. I like to go overnight, so it's better if you can go longer, and you'll see there's a slight tackiness to the meat. And now we're going to season our meat. Alright, so now it's time to season our poultry. This is actually a chicken that we raised ourselves. It's a Freedom Ranger. You can see the breasts aren't as large as a normal bird that you would buy from the store because this is an organic bird we raised out back. Alright, so what I like to use our Happy Bison Original Spice Rub. Sometimes we'll use our Chipotle Mustard Rub if we want more of a Southwestern style flavor. But this time we're going for just a great all-around flavor with coriander, pepper, smoked paprika, brown sugar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rub it all into the chicken, get it all over the skin, and you actually want to get it underneath the skin and into the cavity as well. Once I'm done seasoning it with our Happy Bison Original Rub, I'm going to let this bird rest for about an hour to soak up the flavor of the rub here. And then it goes on the grill with Jameson whiskey-soaked hickory chips. It's going to be really good. Okay, it's been about an hour, actually a little over an hour, since we added our Happy Bison Original Spice Rub to our chicken. What we've done is we have coated a pan in heavy duty aluminum foil. This makes for easy cleanup, which is wonderful because we all know juices and spices like to stick and they make it hard for cleaning. At the same time, this creates a barrier and it catches all those wonderful juices and fat, and it bastes the bird and almost fries it a little bit at the same time in the foil. What I like to do, I like to put the bird straight down in the foil rather than keep it up because that adds moisture. Also, something else I do, I put the bird breast side down, thigh side up, so that all that dark meat juice runs down the bird and self-bastes. So that adds a little bit more moisture, and who can complain about a nice juicy piece of poultry? Everything we did with the chicken in this video is exactly what we do with turkey on Thanksgiving, except for times. So for times, for turkey you want to cook twice as long, if not longer. The rule is 15 minutes per pound for all poultry. That's chicken, that's turkey, and always temp your turkey. You want to go 165 on all birds. Duck and goose are other, that's game birds. I'm talking poultry here. So all poultry you want to go 165 degrees minimum. Maybe 170, 175 if you got people that are a little worried about a little pink mixed in with the blood. But 165 degrees and you're good to go on temperature. Now it's off to the grill. Alright, it is now time for my favorite part of the day, and that's throwing meat on the grill. So I'm just going to get these wood chips here, whiskey soaked, beautiful hickory chips here. Kind of drain them off a little bit. Careful, it is alcohol. You don't want to get hurt. Just kind of chuck them in there on your coals a little bit. Alright. I'm going to close up the grill here and get the chicken on. So what I've got going on here is I've got all my charcoal on this side of the grill. I'm going to put my chicken on this side of the grill, and it's going to get that heat that kind of swirls around it, and the same thing with the smoke. And it's not direct heat over, it's going to get that indirect heat and basically roast it like you would in the oven, except it's getting that smoke and you're using your grill. After about an hour and a half, this chicken should be done. It's not a very big chicken, and then we'll get to enjoy it. Grill on. Alright, so we have taken the chicken off the grill and it is ready. It's temping at 165 and the lowest point. It's actually temping at 175 in some areas, and I just want to show you, even if you overcook it a little bit, how juicy this bird will be if you brine it. So I'm going to take a fork into the breast area, which we cooked, remember, downside, and you can see that glistening, that nice glisten that you get. It's absolutely beautiful. It's juicy. There is juice running out of that breast right there. This is an absolutely beautiful chicken. I can't wait to dig in. Alright, thank you for joining us at Happy Bison Barbecue, and we hope you'll visit us again for more videos, and we hope you'll use this recipe, and happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy. Grill on.